I am unmuted. There we go. Hello, hello, and welcome. We got Wilmington in the house. We got Palm Harbor, Florida, beautiful. Got Chad in New Jersey, and Silver Spring, Maryland. Love me some Silver Spring. I used to live in DC for many years. Yeah, great. And CJ, good to see you from Wilmington. Spent a lot of time in Wilmington, living in South Jersey, right outside Philadelphia. I used to work in a law firm in Wilmington for a lot of years. So happy to see everyone. Of course, I wish I was in Harbor, Florida, like Marianne, but yeah, I'm sure we'll have some other folks join us. But I'm really, really excited about this workshop. This is the first faith workshop, and faith is a big part of my book, The Light in the Mirror. It's a big part of my daily life. The concept of connecting to your higher power for clarity and confidence is something that is just so near and dear to my heart. Some of you have been to some of our other workshops, the Aligned Habits workshop, Epic Daily Ritual workshop. Those involve some amount of faith or trusting in ourselves and our higher power. But today, instead of just touching on it and, going around the edges, we're going to head straight on into it. And I'm just so glad you're here. I'm really excited and inspired to be doing this today. And today we're going to talk about faith and how it guides us directs us in our daily lives and makes our lives better and how to incorporate it into our daily practices. And we're going to talk about faith and not in a religious or a preachy way, but today this is about something much more universal. Some people call it God, some call it spirit, some people call it intuition or the universe calling them, or Pachamama, or as they say, he who is known by 1,000 names and is the unnameable one. Some just feel that there's something bigger than themselves. Whatever language you use, source, as Marianne says, today is about learning how to connect with your higher power, with your source in everyday life, and how to use it to manifest the life that you want, the life that you're meant to live, the life that you are called by that universal source to live. Not just during crisis, not just during big decisions, but as a daily source of clarity, confidence, and direction. Direction for your life, exactly where you want to go, where you know you need to go. To live the life of your dreams, you have to have faith in yourself, you have to have faith in others, and faith in a higher power. And faith is not just imploring God, universal source, or spirit in times of crisis and tragedy to come and help you out. God, please just, get me through this. Faith is the state of mind to clearly appreciate that everything is transpiring in perfect harmony, that life is unfolding exactly as it is meant to be. And even when things don't go our way in life, it takes us down to our darkest valleys. It's a part of where we're meant to be, where we're meant to learn, where we're meant to, get that next great inspiration. And those valleys in life set us up to reach our highest peaks. But to see and get to that peak, you must have complete faith while you're in that valley of despair. In the Lord's Prayer, it says, Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. On earth as it is in heaven. Meaning, it says heaven is here now, on earth as it is in heaven. Your will is done here and in heaven. Heaven is here now. It's not just some later destination. God's will is being done right here, right now, not just in heaven. It's a glorious, beautiful world if you decide to see it that way. Even as tragedies unfold, perhaps that is exactly as it's meant to be, to bring out the goodness in man. When you see the world with the splendor of the great spirit all around, you can see love in everything. Like I said, that spirit that's known by thousands of names, but yet is this unnameable one is all around us always. If we just open up our eyes and see. Dr. Martin Luther King once said, faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. Faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. And that's really what today is about. Not having everything figured out, but learning to take the next step anyway. A lot of our workshops are about receiving direction, meaning we provide tools and we provide resources and helpful hints for living a better life. That's not what today is about. Today is about taking the next step. Faith should inspire you to action rather than keep you waiting for a sign or waiting for direction. So the question today is, are you willing to take the first step even if you don't see the whole staircase? Today, we're going to talk about a few different things. We're going to talk about uh, faith being always within you. We're going to talk about why we feel faith and how to connect to it daily. And then how to take faith-based action. Take that action that you know you're directed to take, not to just hear it, but to see it and do it and make it real. Now, if you've been to our other workshops before, you know we're going to do some grounding. You know we're going to get fully present. Take a minute to be here now. As Ram Dass famously said in his book, if you haven't read it, read Ram Dass's Be Here Now, or Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. You want to be fully present, not lamenting or regretting the past or stressing about the future, because right now is where everything is happening. There is no past and no future. The only thing that is certain is right now. In order to do that and be here now, let's get some presence. Let's get grounded. If you can, join me by closing your eyes or bringing your gaze down low if closing your eyes isn't comfortable. And start to just notice your breath. Breathe naturally in and out through your nose if possible. Hopefully you're not congested and just able to close your eyes and breathe in and out through your nose. Noticing your breath. Noticing maybe your breath's a little bit cooler coming in and warmer going out. Noticing the air coming in and out at the tip of your nose, right inside your nostrils. Maybe you notice the air passing over that little space between the bottom of your nose and the top of your lip. Or maybe you're just noticing the air coming in and out of your lungs, feeling your chest expanding and contracting. Or maybe you just feel your belly rising and lowering. But no matter what you feel, be here now, focusing on the breath, being fully present with the other beautiful souls here to focus on our faith, to pay attention to our higher power, to see the light within us and all around us, to just quiet the mind and open the heart, knowing that the judgments and opinions of the mind are only judgments and opinions of the mind, and that we exist beyond that. You are an eternal soul within this universe, focusing just on your breath, on the air coming in and going out. And when you're ready, we're going to do 3 deep breaths and then hold it at the top and then sigh it out. I'm going to do two more of those. Take a deep breath in through your nose, hold it at the top, and then sigh it out. And one last one. You want to take a deep breath in through your nose, and then you want to take little sips of air. Don't just let it go. You want to take deep breath, little sips of air until your belly's full of air. Take deep breaths in, little sips, keep going, keep going. Hold it, and then sigh it out. All right. Now we're fully present. Hopefully you're dropped in. Start to flutter your eyes a little bit. Be here with us now. Stay off of texting and emails and social media and just be here now. Because we're going to start with our faith being already within us. And here's something important. Faith isn't something people have and others don't, meaning that some people don't have it and some people don't. Now, some people may feel it and others don't. But the fact of the matter is, faith is already within all of us. We may not always recognize it. And even the most faithful among us may not always listen to it. But the vast majority of humans feel connected to something beyond ourselves. And in fact, this was crazy. When I read this, it was a December 2023 Pew Research Center study titled Spirituality Among Americans. And as I was writing my book, I came across this study. When I was writing my book, it's called Light in the Mirror. It'll be coming out later this year. It showed that 88% of Americans, Pew Research study, this major, international think tank and research center, found that 88% of Americans believe in God, a higher power, or a spiritual force. When I read that, my mind was blown. I was absolutely ecstatic. Think about it. There's finally something we all agree on. Well, almost all of us. There's that 12% that may not. But this is amazing. This is absolutely cause for celebration. 88% of Americans believe in God, a higher power, or spiritual force. Now, attendance at religious services may be down, but spirituality is up, despite seemingly challenging times and so much negativity in the world. People are retaining their faith in a higher power or source of life greater than ourselves. In a world where folks argue about almost everything, we're almost completely united in this one quiet belief that there is something greater than just us alone, that we are not alone. And that's powerful. That means that connection isn't rare. It's human and it's universal. We each individually feel that connection, or at least believe it is there for us to access. We have faith. But what is faith? Faith isn't just asking for help when things go wrong. Faith is a state of mind. It's not just asking for help when you're going through challenging times. It's a state of mind and an understanding that even when life takes us into difficult valleys, those valleys are preparing us for our highest peaks. But to reach those peaks, we have to hold faith while we're still in the valley. And how do we do that? You do that by being grateful for all the struggles and pain that you have endured. It's not essential to hold on to it. And going beyond letting it go, you want to express complete gratitude for your struggles. And that's what history has taught us. That after the struggles come the greatest growth. After the Great Depression, the economy grew at the highest rate for the longest duration. After the COVID deep recession in 2020, the economy skyrocketed. I mention these economic conditions because it's the same in our personal lives, but we're able to see that a little bit more tangibly when we talk about this macro human behavior, meaning how we all react after deep challenges. When we personally go through challenging times, we rise up higher than before. During the challenging times, you want to be grateful for everything that's unfolding exactly as it is meant to. When you're knocked down off your mountain and thrown down into the valleys of life, you're preparing to climb to your next summit. If you haven't done so yet, a lot of my thoughts on that come from a great book called Peaks and Valleys by Dr. Spencer Johnson. There's so much wisdom there. And there's a great quote where he says, the path out of the valley appears when you choose to see things differently. The path out of the valley appears when you choose to see things differently. Or, as Wayne Dyer put it, and I quote this in my book, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. When you're in the valleys of life, when the challenges are compounding, view them with love and gratitude. The other day, I just expressed such extraordinary gratitude for all the challenges that have come to me and my family over the last 8 months, and some of which I've talked about in previous workshops, if you've been on those. I express gratitude because I know that these current struggles, meaning I was grateful for the struggles and the past few months of compounding challenges, because I know that they'll lead to extraordinary growth greater than I've ever experienced. And instead of sinking down to let these challenges overcome me, I'm loving the challenges. And I'm also taking massive action every single day to spring toward my future self. So I see and feel these challenges. And typically in life, I would have been absolutely overwhelmed by them and despondent and turned to, drugs or alcohol or other things to try to make me feel better, or at least, ignored them. But instead, I've been absolutely grateful because any challenges lead you to your next big leap forward. Life goes in seasons and cycles, and in the season of struggle grows the strength for our next big leap forward. In your valley, you're preparing for your next summit. You want to love that struggle, the pain and the challenges, because it makes you better. And we all know life is full of challenges and struggles and pain. So you're going to let it bring you down constantly when they come up? Or are you going to be grateful for them and let it lead to your next big leap forward? It allows you to grow more during challenging times than when life is easy. And like I said, it's seasons and cycles. We go through periods where things are easy and things are going better. But you want to be grateful for the winter of life because soon comes the spring, which is your time to bloom. And we're in that season. On our Inspiration Nation Community Happy Hour last week, people were talking about, their favorite season. And almost everyone said spring. And it's like spring is coming, in a few weeks. We're already starting to see, even we're way up here north in Vermont, we're starting to see, the trees are starting to swell up with buds if you look at them. And it'll be beautiful soon. But we need the darkness of winter to grow in the light of spring. As Emery Hall put it in this song, Muddied, which I love, she says, spring will come with its long light and lessons of how we need some seasons of darkness in order to bloom. So as we head from a long, dark winter into the long light of spring, let's let the periods of darkness in our lives fade away into the past. With faith, we want to be grateful for the periods of darkness, for that is how we know the light of joy and positivity. Or put more simply, this is happening for me, not to me. Just keep in mind when you're going through any challenge or struggle that it is happening for me, not to me. And with faith, you're able to move forward. When you connect with your higher power, which we'll get into in just a little bit on a regular basis, you're constantly in that state of gratitude where everything is unfolding exactly as it should. It is all happening for you and not to you. You are not a victim. You are a co creator in your beautiful existence. So let's go now to a journal prompt. I had said to in the beginning, it said bring a pen and a piece of paper, something to write on, not so you can take notes. And by the way, all the slides, the recording from today, they're all going to be made available to you. So you're not going to need to, write all this down. You'll get the recording, you'll get the slides, and anything we go to. And Chris, I love that. Yeah, we always want to remember um, those irritations and challenges are opportunities. They are all opportunities, and that's the point here. They're opportunities to grow. So let's talk for a minute. Just take out your journal and just journal. Where do you go to connect with the divine? Where is that for you? Is that a house of worship, in nature? Just closing your eyes in prayer or meditation at home? Is it looking in the mirror? You may want to journal as well. Where, how do you feel most connected to your divine source? Where do you go to connect? And then where do you feel the most connected? And I'll give you, 2 or 3 minutes to contemplate that. And feel free to share that in the chat as well. Beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for taking that time to reflect and thinking about where it is that we feel the most connected. Whether that's outdoors or taking quiet time in the morning or evening or even during the day. And For a lot of us, it's going inside, meaning inside ourselves. For others of us, it's going outdoors and seeing the grandeur of nature and creation all around us, feeling either the warmth or the cold on our face and feeling the nature and the way that's all around us. And now we want to talk about why we feel that connection. So, if we cannot see the source, spirit, God, or higher power, why do the vast majority of us agree that it is here? How is it that we are united by something unproven, but about which so many of us are certain? It's possible because we are united by our composition, by what we're made of. We share the same origin and are made of the same elements that propel the universe forward and always have. Living an extraordinary life is no more difficult than recognizing that you are made of the same stuff as stars. Now, you may be saying, okay, Ben, that's kind of out there, but this isn't some metaphysical conjecture. What I'm getting at is we were just talking about 88%, in this study, 88% of Americans believe in, God, spirit, or a higher power source greater than themselves. But why? How is it that so many of us feel that if it's something that we can't see or prove, or maybe we see it in other ways manifesting? But the elements of your body come directly from the star that imploded to make Earth. You feel a connection, and 88% of us feel that connection because you are the universe. You are not separate from your source. As famous American astronomer and host of the Cosmos TV series, I remember watching this when I was a kid. The guy, Carl Sagan, said, the nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood were made of the interiors of collapsing stars. We are made of star stuff. Think about that. Every element in your body came from the universe. You didn't just come from your parents, the uniting of two people, or perhaps in a test tube. You came from the cosmos itself. The oxygen in your body, the iron in your blood, the carbon in your cells were all forged in collapsing stars long before Earth existed. You came from the universe. That's why we feel it. That's why we remember it. Every element of your body came from beyond our current physical world. That is why we feel this amazing connection to a higher power. That's why 88% of Americans believe in God, a higher power, or spiritual force. We're all connected by that force which reverberates within us. We feel it within the cells of our body. We remember our connection to our source. So when you feel a connection to something bigger, you aren't just imagining it. You actually are part of something bigger. You are made of the same stuff as stars, and you are meant to shine. And so is everything and everyone else around you. You're meant to be expansive, abundant, and growing like the universe. You are it, and it is you. Now, for some, this may be overwhelming and seem distant, but it can also be a reassurance that we are all united, all connected, and all in this together. Our faith in the universal source and ourselves as a part of that higher power can grow and ground us in faith and unite us for mutual greatness. But for many folks, there's a daily connection problem, meaning like they know that and feel it at times, or maybe feel it in certain ways. And since most of us feel this connection to our higher power, and we're mutually formed from that source of all that is, why don't we all feel connected all the time and in constant bliss? I mean, I know I'm in this state of pretty constant bliss, and I know it does go up and down. But since I've realized some of these things and deepened my faith, and part of the reason I want to share this with everyone is I've always had a strong belief, and I've always, felt very connected to the universe. I mean, since I was a small kid. But over the last couple of years, I've been living in constant bliss. And I want to share that with as many people as possible. Now, here's where many people struggle. They only reach for faith when things fall apart or challenges appear, when the job is in danger, when the relationship is breaking apart, when health is failing, when friends or family's health is failing, or even when the airplane turbulence takes us on a wild ride. We've all been there. God, please get us safely back on down onto Earth. I remember being on a flight once, which was, quite a wild ride, and a lady, Jesus, 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 and I was glad that she was saying Jesus over and over again, hoping, even if I'm not working, maybe he's listening to her because she seemed to be pretty plugged in. Uh, we all are in those spots where, we reach out and say, please just help me get through this. Just get us that safely back onto Earth. Or for some folks, it's just a routine that we only give our partial attention, meaning our faith. Reciting words without feeling them. And I've been there, in church and synagogue. I've been both Christian and Jewish, and been in services or Taoist or Buddhist sayings. I Hindu. I've practiced lots of different religions, and in all of them, we can recite words without feeling them. And yes, they're devotional. They may not have deep feeling or meaning for us. And sometimes we just know there's a deeper level that we can reach. But divine connection doesn't work like an emergency hotline. Connection works like a relationship. What do I mean by this? I mean, if you only talk to someone once a year, you won't feel as close to them. Now, I have some great friends that, I mean, I can go a couple years without talking to them. It's like we never missed a beat. But it's those relationships we work on, the friendships we maintain, the daily contact with those we love. Faith grows the exact same way through daily contact, small moments, quiet listening. That quiet listening can be daily meditation or prayer. It can be noticing the stars or the sunrise or the sunset or the full moon, like 2 nights ago, and feeling awe in the majestic, infinite glory. It can be sitting in silence to listen to the wind or to your breath, like we did a few minutes ago. And notice the direction you receive from your source of life. Whatever feels right for you to step away from the mundane blindness of modern life and open your eyes and your heart to the glorious world that's all around you all the time. It's always available for you to access. Your faith, the way, it's the way that is always available to you. And how to practice communing with your higher power. How do we do this? I've often said meditation is prayer without asking for anything. Practice just sitting with your higher power and listening, not asking or pleading or complaining, not asking for a fix or for some money or for a new job or for a new spouse or for, new kids or a new situation or to heal your pain. There's nothing wrong with asking for someone to heal your pain. There's nothing wrong with that.
But to truly strengthen your connection, you want to feel it without needing something. It's not transactional. You give me this and I'll, defer to you. I'll be deferential to you, our creator, which you should be deferential to the universe and the source of all that is and to God or higher power, whatever you view it as. But if you just take those moments to start your day with faith, here are some different moments that I suggest, things that I do, and you can do it too. Whatever works for you. But here are some suggestions. Start your day with faith. As soon as my feet hit the floor, or at least on that short walk to the bathroom, say to yourself, it's going to be an amazing day. As soon as your feet hit the floor, that way you start your day with purpose. You start your day with feeling and faith in yourself and your higher power. You feel that positive energy of the universe and you broadcast it out. Like I've said before in another workshop, Wayne Dyer said, in one of his speeches I listened to a few weeks ago, he said, do you want to be the type of person that starts the day and says, good morning, God, or good God, morning? You choose. You get to choose. So why not start your day as soon as your feet hit the floor and say to yourself and God and the world, it's going to be an amazing day. You've already started with such positive energy, most likely it's going to be so. And you're going to be able to overcome any challenges easier. Now, another easy practice you can do is just look in the mirror. Lock eyes with yourself and say, I love you. See the love of your higher power within you. And soon you'll start to see it in everyone and in everything else. Another thing you can do for these, those moments of daily connection is write it down. Prayer is powerful. Meditation is powerful. Circumspection, devotion, it's powerful. And writing down what your higher power showed you, or what you felt, or what you saw in that vision that God inspired you with, what you saw in those moments of silent listening is vital to making it come to life. A lot of times we lose that inspiration. We lose that vision. We lose that direction that we got from our creator, from the source of all that is, because we didn't write it down. It just goes in our short-term memory. That was your inspiration to take action to. Don't lose it. Faith isn't just waiting for success without action. It's the ability to take action without fear of failure, to have confidence and take the next step. As I said, Martin Luther King said, faith is taking the next step without seeing the whole staircase. So even if you don't see that whole staircase, take that step. From that vision that you saw, from that direction that you received. You are a co-creator in your life. You can't just sit around and wait for divine intervention. When the phone rings, you take the call. When God gives you that direction, write it down and then take the action. Another thing for your daily connection is you can practice gratitude without asking for anything. So, in this daily connection, you want to express gratitude. Thank your higher power for your life, good and bad. This is happening for me, not to me. Another key to connection is stillness. Listen in silence. I love this graphic that Chad made for this. They're reflections of each other. They have the exact same letters, just in a different order. Silent and listen are the same letters rearranged. We tend to treat prayer as a one-way line. We do all the talking and none of the listening. Is that devotion? Saying a bunch of words and then not listening? That's not, we talked about being in a relationship. Sitting with your eyes closed, just focusing on your breath, focusing on your higher power allows you to open yourself up to wisdom and guidance from your higher power. Sit and just listen. Find silence, whether that's, 30 minutes in the first thing in the morning, like I do, or maybe it's just for 1 minute every hour. I thought about that today. I've never done that, but what if I just set a timer and every hour I just took 1 minute, a minute out of every hour to just breathe, to just notice my breath in silence and feel my connection to God. Or as Marianne said, we buy everyone gifts. Did you ask God what he wanted? Like Father used to say at Mass. Just listen. Stop asking for things that we want and just listen. Or maybe ask God what the source of all it is wants. We're more likely to receive direction then. Now, without asking for things, and I talked about being a co-creator with your creator, being a co-creator of your life is your dreams. In your daily, on the daily, in your daily connection. Talk about what excites you and why. Share those feelings with your higher power and open up. Be vulnerable. Here's what I dream about. Even if you think you could never get there, you don't deserve it. Here's what I want for life. There's a great book called Ask by the guy that wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. I know I'm not going to remember his Mark Victor Hansen. I think that's his name. Mark Victor Hansen, something like that. Book called Ask. His whole point is ask God, ask the universe for what you want. Now, not just ask for help, but let the source know your dreams. Manifest them by sharing them and then seeking divine guidance for how to bring them to life. I'll go through it later, but I say a series of I am statements every day, which I'll go through in a little bit. But, another key to connection is others. You can learn to share your light with others by lifting them up during your prayer, your meditation, or practice. Instead of focusing on what I want, a lot of times and not even necessarily thinking about uh, what my kids or my family need or want. I feel their hearts beating. I feel my connection to them. I feel my love for them. Do what you can do to lift others up. Pray for them to be sustained, for them to be connected the way that you are. Now, final key to connection and making this a part of your daily connection instead of, an emergency hotline or weekly ritual or just words that you say is make it sacred time. Many people link prayer with meals or bedtime, but often these are routine and we're not fully present with our higher power. You're just saying some words. You're thinking, oh, it's time to eat, let's get through this, or it's time to sleep. You may be grateful. There's nothing wrong with expressing gratitude for our meals and those who prepared it and the food that came to us from the earth. I'm not saying there's nothing there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying, make it sacred time. Your connection with your faith deserves something more intentional, meaning a sacred time in your day when you can commune with your higher power, not as a part of other existing routines. Meaning during my 30-minute meditation, that's all that's going on. It's not just to get to the next thing. You want to reframe your daily relationship to your faith. It's not just for when things break or you want a quick fix. Your higher power is here now with you and all around you. It's the way and the light. It's not an emergency hotline, a last resort, or a once per week tradition. It is you and you are it. You're not separate from your source. So why not notice it all around you all the time? Your connection to your higher power provides you with constant, ongoing alignment, an endless well of compassion, clarity, and support. But you got to listen. You got to take time to listen. We can't just be busy all the time, hoping we'll get what we want. We got to step back and take time to listen. So next, we want to go through a little bit of a practical session. We want to talk about how to connect daily. You want to guide you through a very simple daily practice. It's basically going through 4 steps that you can use whether you're deeply religious or just spiritually curious. Spiritually curious. So we're going to go on 4 steps. So I want to take you through these, and hopefully this resonates with you. And like I said, we'll make these slides available. But the 4 steps are: first, you want to pause before direction. I'll go into each of these in more depth. I'll cover them so you get what the steps are, and then we'll go into each one a little bit deeper. But first, pause before direction. Second, you want to listen for quiet clarity. You want to listen, in those periods of silence for clarity, because it will come when you're silent. And third, step 3, you want to take one faith-based action. Whatever that clarity is that you've received, you want to take that action. Remember, I said write it down, but don't just write it down. Take some action, schedule in, do something that shows that you are a co-creator, not just one looking for some guidance and direction and divine intervention to somehow get you to your salvation or to meet your needs. Be a co-creator. Make it real. Bring it to life. And then step 4, after you take action, release the outcome. Don't be wed to a specific result. You just take the divine action that you know that you are meant to take. So let's cover each of these in a little bit more depth. It's not long or complicated, but let's go through step 1 of how you're going to connect daily. First, pause before direction. Before starting your day or making a big decision, just ask your higher power, what is the next right step? What is the next right step? Just picture a step. Say, what is that next step? Show me, guide me. Not the easiest step, not the fastest step, the right step. The one that's aligned with your true self. So we're just asking a question here. What is the right next step? Step 2, listen for quiet clarity. Now, connection rarely sounds dramatic. It usually feels like a calm knowing, a gentle pull, a simple answer, As Gandhi said, that still small voice inside, still small voice. But when you listen, it's not that small. But it's generally a quiet knowing, not fireworks, not a grand sign, not the burning bush that Moses got. I used to look for, not necessarily the burning bush, but wouldn't that be great? I used to look for or hope for some eureka moment while praying or meditating, or think that through meditation, I would arrive at some profound breakthrough in business, personal, or professional or spiritual knowledge that I didn't have before. And don't get me wrong, I received incredibly profound visions or insight that I had not had before. I mean, through years of meditation, I have directed my life based on profound visions that I've received. And some of the clarity that I've gotten has been life defining, and I used it for substantial transformation. But I was often overthinking it. I was thinking too hard and expecting a specific result. Only recently, after years of study and meditation and reading all kinds of spiritual books and learning and teachers, am I getting to a place of being fully present and just quieting my mind and opening my heart? That is where the true connection resides, in sacred stillness. So, after you've found that sacred stillness and probably received some direction on the next right step, what's the next step? Step 3. Take one faith based action. With faith in the direction you're being called to, follow that direction by taking the next right step. As Florence Scovel Shinn said about 100 years ago, faith knows it has already received and acts accordingly. Faith knows it has already received and acts accordingly. Maybe we're going to put this down there in the chat. Faith grows when you act, not when you wait for certainty. You want to see it, receive that direction from your spirit, believe it, and then act it out. Whatever you want is here for you if you see it in your mind. The vision you have is yours and yours alone. God gave it to you, not to someone else. But it will die with you if you do not act. You know what you must do, and yet you wait. As the Dalai Lama said, there are only 2 days in the year that nothing can be done. One is called yesterday, and the other is called tomorrow. Today is the right day to love, believe, do, and mostly live. There are only 2 days nothing can be done, yesterday and tomorrow. Be your true self now. Take the action to leap into your calling. Just take that action. Listen, God is giving you that direction. You have felt it in your heart. You have seen it in your mind. Heed the omens. Do what's being asked of you. Do your duty. Take that action. And step 4, release the outcome. That's it. Your job is the step, not controlling the result. That alone removes enormous anxiety, worry, and fear. That's it. Your job is done. There's no need to await the result. Your direction was the step, not whether the step succeeds. If you have a grand vision, it might be a series of small steps. What you may be called to do may take multiple steps, but you take that first step. Your only job is the first step and then the next step. Do not stay wed to the results. Release the result to the universe. As the Bhagavad Gita said, when your calling arises, you take action without attachment to the fruits of action. Again, take action without attachment to the fruits of action. You surrender to the divine. Take that step and then surrender and put it in God's hands. Offer the results of all actions to God, reducing your ego's control. You've done what you're supposed to do. You took the step. The problem is we want to, control and push and mold and make sure people do what we want them to do. You just take the step that you know you're meant to take. Take action without fear of the outcome, meaning there is no success or failure. There's just action. There's only action to fulfill your duty. Your duty is your duty, not your stress about whether you fulfill your duty. You just take action to fulfill your duty. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu says, that's what Taoism is based on, the Tao Te Ching. Success is as dangerous as failure. Whether you go up the ladder or down it, your position is shaky. Whether you go up the ladder or down the ladder, your position is shaky. When you stand with your 2 feet on the ground, you will always keep your balance. I'm going to put that down, chat. Success is as dangerous as failure. Don't stress about the result. You just take action without attachment to the result. We spend so much time fearing how it's going to turn out or wanting to control it. Get your direction from your higher spirit, source, higher power, God, and then take action. And that's it. Next, let's head to a journal prompt. What is something, pull out your journal or your pen, piece of paper, and consider for a couple minutes. What is one thing you could achieve by taking one small step toward your calling, towards your true calling? What's something you could achieve by taking one small first step, meaning a step towards your true calling? And if you don't know your true calling yet, that's okay. That's okay. That's what, we've developed the Aligned Habits Workshop and the True Self Project for. We can help you with that. But you probably already know. You've probably been in silence and you know what that true calling is. You've probably always known. So I'll give you a couple minutes and consider that. What's something you could achieve by taking one small first step toward your true calling? Muted. There we go. Yeah, hopefully you were able to get that down, ponder that a little bit. Like I said, you want to try to go through those steps. Wonderful. Yeah, Chris, being committed and consistent in the action, engaging in my purpose daily or at least 5 times a week. Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, the I will say the habitually inspired habit tracker. If you ever done the aligned habits workshop, you can download that from our website as well. I mean, I use that, Chris, in making sure I'm getting to my purpose daily and doing those things. I've got my goals printed out right by my desk, and I try to take action every single day. Meaning, like you said, during the week, 5 times a week, during the work week, to heed that calling and then take the action that I'm meant to take. Meaning working on speaking, on doing workshops like this, and doing that action that I've got to do to get my book published, and we're almost there. Uh, Marianne, uh, yeah, helping teens and early 20s realize they're not bad. Yeah, you want to make them feel better. I love that. Taking it one step further when they have good marriage, and I tell them and tell their parents they did a good job with you. That's great. Yeah, being intentional about that can really have a big impact on people's lives, and particularly that age group and how they feel about themselves, particularly nowadays that, given the phones and the amount of, depression amongst that age group, that's really profound. Um, anyone else, feel free to share if you'd like. Otherwise, I hope you got that down and you're excited to, maybe it's just listen for that next step, or maybe it's to take that action. But next, we're going to talk about leaping into your future. Leap and the net will appear. There's a great quote by John Burroughs. You know, faith heals us physically and emotionally. But beyond healing, faith is essential for our success in our personal and professional lives. If you want to be the person you're meant to be, have fulfilling work you're meant to do, and have loving relationships that you deserve, then see them with faith and bring them to life. And what calls you from within may change as you pay more attention to it. After 18 years of developing clean energy projects, that still small voice has told me to do something different. It's told me to do something more, to talk to you, to write a book, to inspire you to listen to your inner voice, to inspire you to listen to your higher power and become your true self. Like I said, John Burroughs said in the immortal words, he said, leap and the net will appear. That is it. That is faith. That's what's being asked by your higher power, that still small voice within you. Just leap into it. Whatever it is for you, whatever you think about regularly that you will love and will make you happy, you must do. Whatever you heard or saw in sacred stillness, that is your true self and where you will find joy. Leap to your calling. We all have it. It calls to us regularly and we ignore it and go through the motions. We stay stuck on the hamster wheel. We do what we're, quote, supposed to do. We do what the modern world or social media or our parents or friends or society expect us to do. But that's not reality. That is not what the universe requires of you. It is not what you're capable of. You know what you want to do, but you have to have faith that you can get it. That is already yours. Like I said earlier, faith knows it is already received and acts accordingly. You have to have faith that you can heal those wounds that keep you stuck. And then after you move on from that, which was holding you back, you take affirmative steps so that the staircase will appear. You have to build the staircase. You can't just wait for it to show up or someone else to build it for you. So let's talk about that for a minute. Why don't you take out your journal again and just consider, what are you being guided to do? You may ask, what is my purpose in life? A lot of folks ask me that. Or who am I supposed to be? But inside, you've always known. And now it's time to leap and the net will appear. So I want you to take just a couple minutes of sacred stillness and consider the divine direction that you've received or wish to receive, and listen for direction. And when you're ready, let's just stick to that. We'll do that first, and then I'm going to come back to another exercise. But take just a couple minutes in sacred stillness and just consider the divine direction that you have received or that you wish to receive. Listen to that direction. We'll take a couple minutes and do that. And then we'll come back, we'll do another short exercise, then we'll proceed to close. So just find some silence and some stillness for a few minutes. Focus on your breath. Consider the divine direction that you've received, or that maybe you wish to receive. Envision your true self. You know you've seen this. You know what you want from life. You know God has directed you towards your purpose in life. And if you don't, take a few minutes to consider it. And then, after today, take time in silent circumspection to discover that. Just listen for direction.
Right. Now, hopefully you had enough time. If not, hopefully you can do this exercise again later and find some sacred stillness. Let me just check out what Alonzo is saying here. New career in sales at this point, still having a job is rough, and I'm grateful for the job, but it's time for a change. Step by step. Look, Alonzo, I'm still doing my old job while I'm transitioning to my purpose in life. I'm meeting you there as well. We're on together because I'm taking action to follow my purpose. So, a couple years ago, I was called to go down this new direction. I was called to write this book, and it was purely through divine inspiration. I was at a retreat, I had experience, and I received this calling that I was to write this book called Light in the Mirror. And I heeded the call. I didn't just ignore it. I mean, I've never written a book. What do I know about writing books? But I had a friend who was a book coach, so I reached out to her and said, "Hey, help me. How do I get going?" So I wrote that book. I then hired an editor and we worked on editing it. I then started a course last year called Thrive in 25. I then started taking massive action. I've done all of this stuff. I do these weekly workshops, which, you've all been to. This is one of them. We now do them every single week for free. Why? Because I know it's my calling and it is going to lead to something. But at the same hand, I, and this is very rare, but I had to have a report done. I worked till 2 in the morning last night on my uh, clean energy business, Blue Sky Power, which is what feeds my family most of the time, when projects are coming in. But um, I know what my calling is, and I'm working on. I'm taking massive action every single day, every single week, and I'm investing a ton of time and money and effort into, bringing that to fruition because I know that's what I'm called to do. So what I'm saying, Alonzo, is it might be little steps. And I'm with you in having that job is rough. And yeah, like, I guess I'm grateful for the job and it's time for a change, but it's that change is coming. Like I've been doing the, sort of slowly moving, I spent basically most of 24 finishing my book and training myself, watching inspirational speakers. I did a Les Brown course. I watch speech, I want to be an inspirational speaker. I watch speeches by Dr. King and Wayne Dyer and Norman Vincent Peale. Uh, and all these people that I admire and look up to because I want to do what they do. So I've been training, but at the same hand, I started taking massive action. So uh, we just start taking that action. So yeah, I wouldn't stress about being in the job. I know, look, I'm so sick of doing clean energy projects. I've been doing this for 18 years. I don't want to do it anymore. But I love my clients. I love helping them out. But I'm also doing everything I can to, head down this path because I know it's what I call to do. I've never been any happier. You see it. I love doing these workshops. I love being here with y'all. I love Inspiration Nation, our community happy hours. I love writing, articles and stuff. And at some point, that will be what I'm doing, full time in my calling. So you might have to come up with a little bit of balance of, some late nights of, after the kids are in bed, I talk to my kids and I sat here and I got this Blue Sky Power work I had to get done. But you know what? I got the faith workshop content done before I did that work to make sure that I was prepared to be with you guys today for this workshop that we are excited to do. So yeah, it'll be tough for a while, but make that change. Take that step. Don't let it hold you back. It just reminded me of this quote. I think we put this in one of the other workshops, but I think Alan Cohen maybe is the guy's name. Said, yeah, you're very welcome. Said, how do you put it? Yeah, don't wait for the conditions to be perfect to begin. Beginning makes the conditions perfect. Yeah, yeah. Just start. Whatever that calling is, you know, like we're talking about today, faith in yourself, faith in your higher power, faith in that direction. Leap and the net will appear. As Dr. King said, faith is taking the first step without seeing the whole staircase. It's not all going to be perfect. You're not going to have that path laid out for you that just says, "Hey, here's this new direction." And maybe it will. Maybe it is a recommitment. Maybe it is, you get that call. It's like someone saying, "Hey, I need you to do this thing that you're exactly called to do." But your new career will present itself, or I guess my point is you can make it happen. Yeah, same goes for Chris as well. Still waiting for that direction to be disclosed, but as you start taking some steps, I mean that's why I just started taking steps. I knew God was calling me to be of service and to inspire others to see the light within them and to live the light, help them live the life of their dreams. And that's why I'm talking to you today, just because God told me to inspire people to do that. Chad, that's awesome. I love the headlights on the road analogy. You can only see as far as the headlights, but there's more road there. That's great. That's great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So now that we've taken a few minutes, and I mean, each of us are starting to discuss some of the direction we've had. Marianne talking about, inspiring uh, younger folks, young adults through, compliments. And I see that evolving. Like I said, I said, I see that evolving into something more, something, a system, a way to inspire people to do that. Your true self is being called now, and you're taking daily action to inspire others and make a difference in their lives. And so, what I want you to do is, uh, oh, I'm sorry, Chris said that. I'm sorry, I gave Chad. I saw the C and the green. It's like you both got the same little like logos there. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you for that, Chris. I'm sorry, I misattributed to Chad. Um, so anyway, now that we've talked about getting some of that direction, and you obviously we got to keep doing it. I mean, it's not that next step. Every day we ask what that next step is and it becomes more clear. It's not, one log meditation or prayer, God zap gives you that direction and then you take it. Sometimes that happens. Now that you know some of what that purpose is, and it seems like all of us are honing in on that, I want you to take a couple minutes, take 2 minutes, and write as many I am statements as possible. As God declared to Moses in Exodus 33:14, I am that I am. I've done this, and for the last I did this a couple years ago after I read this book, Happy Pocket Full of Money. Great book. It's mainly about quantum physics and faith than it is about money in any way at all. But I've done this for the last 2 years. I recite my I am statements multiple times a day during meditation, when falling asleep, and when being challenged. Um, the I am statements I say to myself every day, I'm a servant of God. I'm a spiritual leader. I'm an inspirational speaker. I'm a New York Times best-selling author. I'm inspiring others to live the life of their dreams. I'm living the life of my dreams. I'm a loving husband and father. I'm a decamillionaire. I'm living at 393 Warren Hill Road. I mean, I've even envisioned and seen where I'm, supposed to live to carry on this life of service. I say these I am statements because that was the direction that I received. I say them every day and I manifest that in my life. I'm making all of that real because I'm co-creating my world with my creator. You want to co-create your world with your higher power. So do that. Take a couple minutes. What are your I am statements? Now that you know who your true self is, what are your I am statements? Take, 2 minutes. Write down as many I am statements as possible, and then start reciting themselves to yourself every single day. I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. All right. Hopefully, you found that productive, and keep working on this. If you need some more time, keep working on this later as well. Again, yeah, it's changed my life. I'm reciting this to myself daily. I'm sticking with it. And it's been almost 2 years. Sometimes I say it to myself, when I wake up, when I'm laying in bed at night, even if things are challenging, just when I'm meditating over and over, I'm co-creating my life uh, with God. So take that time to do that. Co-create your world with your higher power. It's absolutely powerful. You are stating just like God did, I am that I am. God stating that God is eternal, without definition, without needing to be defined by man. You're stating who you are and what you're called to do. Now, I'm really grateful for each of you for sharing and for taking the time to do this and for allowing me to share some of what has helped inspire me and how I've acted on some of the divine direction that I've seen. And you know, I've said it in the last couple of weeks, but in reflecting on where I am, this has been an incredibly challenging period of time, but also a period of time of great faith, despite the challenges, and probably despite being one of the most challenging times, it has interestingly also been one of the periods of strongest faith that I've had despite those challenges, meaning it hasn't shaken my faith. And I've learned life goes in seasons and cycles. And in those seasons of struggles, grows our next big leap forward. Like I said earlier, you want to love the struggle, the pain, and the challenges because it makes you better. It allows you to grow more than when life is easy. You want to be grateful for that winter life because soon comes the spring. It's your time to bloom, your time to co-create your future. When you connect, this was interesting. I wrote an article about faith the other day that when you connect a negative charge and a positive charge in a battery, you create power. The negative charge alone and the positive charge alone do not create power. But when you combine them together, they create power. When you bring negativity from your life and with faith, combine it with positivity, you create power. Your power, your pure, unbridled power to live the life of your dreams. You want to take all that negativity, all that pain, all that struggle, and combine it with your positive determination, that positive direction from your source to live as your true self, to live life on purpose and you can create boundless energy. As I said a few minutes ago, faith knows it is already received and acts accordingly. Use your I am statements. Have faith in yourself. Have faith in your higher power. Here's an interesting concept. And I learned this a little bit, probably over a decade ago. I forget how it came up, but every single thing that you see and touch, every single thing that you see and touch that is not naturally occurring, everything that's not naturally occurring was just an idea in a person's mind. Your car, your phone, your computer, your house, your pen, everything you see around me, except for, the snow and those trees over there. They were all just a vision inside someone like you. Other than nature and animals, everything you see every day was just an idea in another person's head. It was just their still small voice from within. It was their faith calling them, but they gave it life. They leapt and the net appeared. They took the first staircase, they took the first step and the staircase appeared. If you see that person in the mirror looking at you and longing for more, then take action. The look of longing is faith. It's the faith within you, knowing that you are meant for more and pleading with you to take that leap. The eyes staring at you, wondering why you're stuck doing the same thing, is the faith within you calling you to take the next step, to be the person you're meant to be your true self. As we said in the immortal words of Dr. King, stated repeatedly today, faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. Build that staircase. Envision a grand staircase. Envision yourself at the top of the stairs. What do you like at the top of the stairs? Who is your future self waiting for you at the top of the stairs? Run up those stairs to be your true self. Run up those stairs like Rocky running up the steps of the art museum in Philadelphia, and then raise your fist up in the air in victorious celebration. Because once you take the first step, you will no longer see yourself with yearning. You will see your true self. You will see that the light in the mirror is you. You will see that you are made of the same stuff as stars and are meant to shine. You're made of the same stuff as stars and are meant to shine. That's our discussion about faith. I This is the first time we've done this workshop. You guys are the first ones to hear it. I hope that you enjoyed it today. I applaud each of you for taking the time to dig deep, to share, be vulnerable, to share what you are going through and what you hope to achieve through the divine inspiration. And I hope that this was useful for you. I hope you're able to take, the recordings and slides that we send, watch it again, figure out what works for you, but stay connected and take those steps to live the life of your dreams because you're meant for greatness. You're made of the same stuff as stars and you're meant to shine. Oh, thanks, Chad, for putting that up there. I would have forgot. Tomorrow is our community happy hour. Some of you have been, some of you have not. What we do in our community happy hour is we get together, we talk about celebrating our wins from this past week, which I had some big ones. It was a crazy week. And we talk about what we're looking forward to over the weekend, and then we set our intention for next week. We set our big three priorities for next week. It's a great way to close the week strong, reflect on how we've done, our successes, celebrate our wins together, and we have some fun too. We do some icebreakers, yeah, and we take a couple minutes to journal and reflect and set our intention. So it's a great way to go into our weekend calm, confident. And for me, when I set my priorities for the next week, I start Monday ready to hit the ground running. So yeah, if you can join us tomorrow at noon for our Inspiration Nation Community Happy Hour. It's a great way. Thank you so much, Alonzo, CJ, Marianne. Appreciate those. You each inspire me. Like I said, I am inspiring others to lead the life of their dreams. That's what I've been called to do. So I hope that this has helped you, and you are a blessing, each of you. So thank you for that, Marianne. I appreciate it, as are you. You're all making my life more enriched and more fulfilled and inspiring me to do what I love, to be my true self and to follow my calling. So thank you, each of you, for allowing me to do that. Chad, thank you for making all this possible and making it all work and look so beautiful. Chad does all the slides and does the production, and all the emails and the reminders and everything. That's all thanks to Chad. Chris and Carl, nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining. Um, yeah, come to happy hour. We continue with our workshops, every single Thursday, our free workshops. We do have a workshop next week. I think will be our aligned habits workshop. We now are in a cycle of doing one each week. So I think we're doing our aligned habits workshop. Is that right, Chad? Does that make sense? Or are we doing faith again? I guess I'm not sure. Um, Yeah, Aligned Habits Workshop. All right, cool. So I didn't realize it's like, oh, AHW. All right, so Aligned Habits Workshop will be next week, next Thursday at noon, same time, same place as this. And follow us on social media. We'll be posting some of this stuff. Check out Chad is my memory. Chad helps make it all happen. Chad's a great friend and great partner, and makes everything come together. So yeah, follow us on social media, and hopefully you can come to happy hour tomorrow. It would be great to see everyone. Happy to stay on for a minute if anyone has any questions or wants to give any feedback. Happy to stay on. If not, I wish you all a great rest of your week and many blessings. And thank you all for being here and letting us present this to you.